Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of Alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another week of the Tuning In podcast. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and were able to take some time off to rest and restore and are ready to get back to it. This week is a really fun episode, and I talk all about witnessing and building awareness around ourselves, our habits, and our thoughts. And I give you a few practical tips on how to do that, what it looks like, and how it is going to benefit you in the long run. But before we get into that, I want to share with you, I have some exciting news. So this week, I am opening the doors to my brand new monthly membership. And this membership is all about you and finding and creating your own alignment. So I want to help you find physical, mental, and emotional alignment by slowing down, tuning in, listening to, and acting from your inner voice. And that is no easy feat. And so I decided to create basically a monthly training program where we work together through video calls, coaching calls, and workbooks. Each month will cover a specific topic and will really help you uncover what it means for you to be in alignment with yourself, how to take care of your own needs, and importantly, how to shift your focus from what's expected of you to what's right for you. And we'll do that again with the physical, mental, and emotional alignment so that you can connect to your needs and really access your inner guidance system, or your inner GPS, as I like to call it. And I'm opening this to a small group of people. We'll be starting our first month in January and focusing on routines and building micro routines into your day so that you can reconnect with yourself. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. It's been a long time coming. It's something that has been in my heart and in my mind for over a year now. And I finally have the clarity on how to work with you all on a more regular and intimate basis so that we can all see changes and shifts. Imagine what would happen if you spent a little energy, up to an hour a week each week, focusing on you, focusing on your needs, prioritizing your own health, wellness, and alignment. Imagine what that looks like a year from now. How have you shifted? How do you feel about yourself? How do you engage with others? It's powerful work, and also work that will inevitably get pushed to the back burner unless you're actively committing to paying attention to yourself. And with this practice, with the Align method that I teach in this membership, it's not about doing more things or filling your to-do list. It's actually about getting really clear about what you're doing and how it is serving you, and how to shift your energy and what you're doing on a regular basis so that it's empowering you and helping you find alignment versus draining you and pulling you out of alignment. And so we'll work together every single month and really start to build this connection to yourself. So if that's something that sounds at all interesting to you, I would love for you to join me. You can send me a message on Instagram or go right to the website, which is alignful.mykajabi.com/join-membership. And we'll put that link in the show notes so that you can access it. But it will start in January, and for the small group of people, my founding members, it is an investment of $22 a month. So an investment for you for $22 a month. I'm so excited. I hope you join me. Please let me know if you have any questions. And now with that shared and out there into the universe, I am excited to then bring you back to this week's episode where we talk all about awareness and how that can positively impact how you feel every single day. Without further ado, here's this week's episode. Hello and welcome to another Woo Woo Wednesday. I am so happy to have you all joining me today. And we're going to talk about building awareness into our days. So, what is awareness? What does this mean? I think it's one of the things that is possibly most important for us to build a connection to, especially as we get older, especially as we reflect on who we are, who we're being, what habits we have, and more importantly, what we want to grow into, who we want to become, and what we want our lives to look like. I like to say that we are what we repetitively do and think. Everything you are now is a culmination of, yes, circumstances, but more importantly, the things that you think and do on a regular basis. As a culture, I think we put way more value on the big, drastic changes that we make, like drastically changing your diet and going from not working out to working out 7 days a week and being ripped. Or, creating this really intense, rigorous, rigid schedule that you must follow all the time with no flexibility. Going from zero to $1 million business. Meeting someone online and falling in love and getting married immediately. We seek those really big changes and drastic transformations. But the truth is, often those are not long lasting and they aren't really that drastic. Because here's the deal. Anything that we perceive as the big outcome typically comes from a longer period of sustained micro actions and micro thoughts. So we love to look at and see the big transformation, but rarely do we look at or even hear about all of the micro transformations that happened in order to get that one big result. And so when we're goal setting and when we're planning our lives and looking at what we want to do, we tend to underestimate all of the little things and the little actions and thoughts that we can take. And we just try to hit that big number, that big result. And I think that sets us up for failure. If you're not exercising, for example, and you want to move more, how much harder it is to go from 0 to exercising 5 to 7 days a week than it is to go from exercising 0 to maybe 1 or 2 days a week. You see, our brains tend to undervalue what it takes and undervalue those small actions. Your brain thinks, well, if I can't go 5 days a week, then I'm going to go no days a week. What good is 1 day a week at 20 minutes? I'm not going to see results from that. But the truth is, 1 day a week of movement for 20 minutes starts to train your brain to want to do more days. And it's undoubtedly more valuable than doing 0 days of exercise or doing 5 days of exercise only a few times during the year. You see the difference? It's not about the big transformation and the big action. It's actually about the micro shifts and the small actions that we take on a consistent basis that are going to create the transformation we desire. So, I ask you, what transformations are you looking for in your life? Where are you feeling resistance from where you currently are to where you want to be? That right there is a very good indication of something that you have the opportunity to make a conscious shift with in your life. Maybe it's your movement habits. Maybe it's your eating or drinking habits. Maybe it's the way you interact with relationships or the way you spend your mornings or evenings. There are so many aspects and facets of our lives. The question is, where do you feel the resistance? And that is an opportunity for you to look at the habits that surround that area of your life and make conscious decisions. But here's the deal. If we're looking to make micro changes that will create macro results over an extended period of time, we have to know what micro changes we need to make. You see, most of our lives are spent in habit. 95% of what we're doing is operating from a subconscious level. That means it's already programmed into us, whether it was intentional or not. We operate from an efficiency perspective, and our brains like to do things that we already know. Because in your brain's mind, that is more efficient. And it takes effort and time and energy to create a new habit and to create a new routine. And your brain resists that because it wants and prioritizes efficiency over all else. And that means that only about 5% of what we're doing every day is from our conscious thinking mind. We have to work hard to think about it. So we have to learn to catch ourselves when we're operating from the 95% subconscious part of us. And that's tricky because if it's subconscious, it means we're not consciously aware of and thinking about what we're doing. So how do you catch yourself? How do you take something that's unconscious and bring consciousness to it? And how do you deal with that when you know your brain is going to actively resist these changes? Well, first of all, we need to build awareness. We need to build awareness about what we're doing every day. The first step, as I mentioned already, is to take note of where you are feeling resistance in your body, your mind, and your heart. So I'll give you an example. For me, I was feeling resistance and I am desiring to move more, but I'm also not moving more. So unconsciously, I'm not taking the actions every day to exercise right now. And yet mentally, I'm really feeling like I want to exercise. But my subconscious actions are actually overriding my conscious desires. So what did I do? Well, first I recognized, okay, there's certain places in my life where I can start moving a little bit more. My brain was thinking, well, you're going to just have to go to an hour-and-a-half yoga class 3 times a week and you have to start now. But that wasn't feeling aligned for me. So instead of approaching it from the drastic big transformation perspective, I decided to approach it from a micro transformation perspective. I have a little mini trampoline in my living room. And I also have all of the tools I need to move my body at home. I am a yoga instructor. I know all about functional body movement. I know this stuff. I don't have to go to a class necessarily. So I decided to create an anchor trigger for the new habit I wanted to create, which is spending 1 to 5 minutes jumping on my trampoline every morning and then stretching. So what I decided was as soon as I wanted my first cup of coffee, that was going to be my anchor habit because coffee is already an unconscious habit. It's easy. I just do it every morning. Once I notice I want the coffee, before I can have it, I jump on my trampoline. And then, however long I want, I get off the trampoline and do a couple stretches on the floor. Here's what's interesting. This anchor habit has proved so potent and valuable to me because I'm not setting myself a huge expectation of I have to work out a lot. It's just a little bit of movement every day. And I'm finding as each day goes on that I do my little micro movements, I'm spending more time in the act of moving before I have my coffee. So my micro habit is building into a bigger daily practice. Isn't that amazing? What in your life would you like to shift? And how could you shift it in such a tiny, small way that your brain will almost dismiss it? Because that's the path of least resistance. You actually can do something that feels almost effortless. I was only committing myself to like 3 minutes of movement, but now it's growing to, 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And it's out of desire, not guilt or frustration. So where could you do that in your life? And I highly recommend choosing an anchor habit, something that you already do, as either the precursor or the signal for you to do your new habit. It makes it so much easier to remember to do your new habit. But see, before I could do any of that, I had to recognize what was missing and how it was missing in my life. Another great one is I have a tendency, I've noticed, to hold tension in my right shoulder. And what used to happen was at the end of the day, my whole right shoulder and neck would be really sore and tight. And I'd massage it and think, God, when did this happen? It was unconscious. Then I realized, I must be holding my shoulder during the day. I need to stop that. But you can't stop something if you don't know you're doing it. So this would be breaking a habit, right? Versus creating a new one. I didn't realize I was holding my shoulder until the end of the day when I was in pain. So I started setting an alarm for 3 times a day. And I would say, check shoulder. And without fail, when that alarm went off, I would notice I was holding tension in my shoulder and then I would release it. With that awareness of the alarm, I started to build in micro awareness throughout the day. Bit by bit, day by day, I was becoming more aware of me holding tension in my shoulder until I'm at the point now where I actually catch myself as it starts to grip and I release it. And soon what will happen is I will not be gripping my shoulder anymore because I catch myself before I grip it and I don't even have to release it because I notice as it's happening. This is an insane level of body awareness, and I think it's something that we are so disconnected from. What is my body doing? The best way to figure out is at the end of the day or first thing in the morning, notice where you have pain. For example, if you wake up with a backache or a neck ache in the morning, more often than not, it is the culmination of the day before and then sleeping on that than just having, quote, slept poorly. Look at the bigger picture. Every day, notice what does my body feel like, and then see if you can start connecting that to what's happening throughout the day. We cannot change what we do not know we're doing or what we do not notice. But if we start to build awareness into every day and even every moment, we'll start to catch ourselves in the act. It's like being caught red-handed, right? With your hand in the cookie jar. You catch yourself before you follow through with the unconscious habit. First thing is to catch yourself. And guess what? You might still do the habit, and that is okay. But you'll never be able to change it if you don't know you're doing it. Here's another one, an example with our thoughts, which frankly, I think are so important and so on autopilot that this takes time and practice and a commitment to doing it every day. What thought patterns do you have? Do you catch yourself going down a negative spiral? Or are you in the place right now where you only notice after you've spiraled and you think, oh, I feel horrible now. What just happened? Or have you noticed if your spouse might trigger you and you go through a default pattern of reacting, creating more pain and drama? What if you could catch yourself? Think of it like a snow slide, right? You're at the top of the hill. On your right, you have the path well traveled, the one that's a subconscious patterning right now. It's really slippery and smooth, and you get down to the bottom really fast. Then you have the new way that you want to be, whether it's the way you want to think, a new habit you want to create, or a habit you want to break. That is fresh snow. And what happens when you try to sled down the fresh snow? Well, at first you might get on and you might get stuck because the snow is so powdery. So then you pull your sled back and then you push a little further. And each time you're forming a new path. Then you might get all the way to the bottom and you come back to the top and you try to go again. The path still isn't smooth. It's a little bumpy. It's a little choppy. With consistency and repetitive action, you can form a new smooth path. And here's the cool thing. Eventually, it's going to snow again and again and again. And you're now choosing to take the new sled path. And that means the other one's going to get covered in snow, and it won't be as easy for you to take. What this means is you can literally go from one unconscious habit, you then step back, create awareness around it. Then you catch yourself before the act, and then you consciously start to choose a new path. Over time, that choice becomes your new normal. It becomes your default habit. Isn't that cool? We have the power to do this. We have the tools within us, and it doesn't take a whole bunch of effort. It doesn't take these big, grand gestures or overwhelming acts. All it takes is for you to first notice that there's resistance and something that you want to shift. Then set conscious reminders to check in with yourself during the day and see how you're doing with this shift. And over time, notice the level of awareness you have. It might first start as you have awareness that it happened after the fact. Then it will become you having awareness whilst in the middle of a pattern, right? You're halfway down the mountain on your sled and you're like, oh God, I went down that path again. Funny me. Gonna try again next time. Then you'll start to notice as you're walking toward the path. And eventually you will be standing there at the top, looking at your two options of your pattern. Do I go the path well traveled, or do I choose the new path, the new version of myself? And over time, the new version will become the old version. It will become your ingrained way of being. It just takes awareness, and it takes a willingness to show up consistently and choose to become aware of yourself, to check in, to tap in, and then to choose for your highest. That's all. You don't have to go do a 10-day silent meditation, but you can slowly start to watch your thoughts. Choose your words and be more intentional with your actions. And finally, I'd like to close with, please have compassion for yourself. Anything you want to shift or evolve, recognize how long it took to get there. These are deeply ingrained patterns and habits. And we must have compassion and patience and trust that we can shift these over time. It took time for them to show up, and it will take time for you to shift them. As long as you have compassion, if you've gone down the path that you no longer want to travel, don't beat yourself up. Recognize and say, oh, I did it again. Silly me. Next time I have another opportunity to grow. These are life lessons. These are practices that help us grow into who we are. And at the end of the day, if you've done nothing else but build awareness around where you are and where you want to be, and then have compassion for the process of getting there, you're already winning. You're on this path. We're traveling it together. We're all growing and evolving. And awareness is the key to everything. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. I'm so grateful to have this platform and this connection to you all and to my higher self as I get to share every week here. So I'm wishing you a beautiful rest of your week. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or find me on my website at alignful.com.